The conflict with Venezuela continues. In fact, the State Department has issued a travel warning to Americans, urging them to avoid any and all travel to Venezuela. In fact, the advisory says the following: do not travel to Venezuela due to crime, civil unrest, poor health infrastructure, and arbitrary arrest and detention of US citizens. Venezuelan authorities may not notify the US Embassy of the detention of a US citizen, and consular access to detainees may be denied or severely delayed. I'm glad that they issued this because I do believe that it's correct. Nicolas Maduro is going to want to retaliate against Donald Trump. The Trump administration has just implemented sanctions against Venezuela, specifically their oil company, their state-owned oil company. And so would he want to retaliate against Americans? Sure, I don't think it's far-fetched to think so. But the situation is devolving rather quickly, and there is some fear that there could be military intervention, especially since both Bolton and Trump have said that military intervention is on the table.
And Bolton was caught with a note on his notepad that said 5,000 troops to Colombia. That sounds ominous. You know, Bolton's a sneaky dude with a very sneaky mustache. And I wonder if he wrote that and then had it facing out on purpose so the press could see it as a threat. But that's not important, it's speculation either way. But obviously them saying, yeah, no, we're considering military options is important because that's crazy. What are we gonna do, invade Venezuela? But it's Trump and Bolton, you never know, buckle up. Now the good news is the Russians are on Venezuela's side. So why is that good news? Because Trump might get a call suit and go, I meant Venezuela's actually kind of awesome. Right. And I don't, did I say I don't like Maduro? I mean, hey, dude won an election. Okay, which by the way, is not necessarily the case.
No, yeah, it was a rigged election, that's clear. But Donald Trump and various countries, it's not just the United States, refuse to recognize Nicolas Maduro as the leader of Venezuela. And they are now noting that the opposition or the opposer, Juan Guaido, is the real president of Venezuela. Look, they're pushing for regime change, and every time I see that, I get incredibly uneasy. Yes, I acknowledge that Nicolas Maduro is a bad guy, but anytime there's a push for regime change from outside forces, especially outside forces who oftentimes are influenced by business interests, you're gonna have a disastrous situation. So it makes me uneasy, and at the same time, I recognize what the Venezuelan people are going through. And by the way, yeah, Nicolas Maduro might have not gotten elected democratically or fairly, but neither did Juan Guaido.
Yeah, so look, if you came up with a solution, the world did, all the international community did, and right now the international community is split. So on the side of Venezuela and Russia is also China, Mexico, Uruguay, Bolivia, etc. So that's on the Maduro side saying no, Guaido is not the elected leader of Venezuela. But if the world were to be united and they decided, hey, look, let's have new elections, let's monitor them, either Jimmy Carter's organization or the United Nations, or maybe Mexico or Uruguay, right? I would love that. I think that would be the perfect answer to this, because I don't believe that Maduro was democratically elected. But we know for a fact Guaido isn't. We know for a fact that he's influenced by foreign actors, including the United States, who he coordinated his announcement with. Donald Trump tweeted minutes after Guaido's said that he was the real leader of Venezuela. Now the US has said, oh, Guaido will get to control the assets of Venezuela that is in US banks. I think that's outrageous. So I'm not interested in another coup. So you've got a series of bad choices here. The only good choice is the one I just outlined with doing another election that's actually fair and monitored. Now, it's going to be incredibly difficult to get Maduro to agree to that. So I understand that and acknowledge that. But of all the other options, which are all bad, I think the worst one is a de facto coup, where we have a total mess and risk civil war within Venezuela. The military continues to back Maduro, but what if the military was split? And then what, we're gonna have another situation like Syria, Iraq, etc. on our hands? And gee, it's another country in the world that happens to have a lot of oil.
Exactly.
That all of a sudden we're meddling in their elections. Now wait, I thought we were against meddling in elections. Now we're principled here on the Young Turks. We're against the Russians meddling in our elections, but we're also against us meddling in Venezuelan elections.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, the US has been attempting to do a coup on Venezuela since 2002. There was a failed coup back in 2002, and it was US backed, and that was when Hugo Chavez was the president. So again, there have been business interests involved. Whenever there are these outside influencers trying to come in and do something like regime change, you gotta ask yourself why. If they give you the answer of human rights, you gotta ask yourself, okay, well, what other alliances do you have? And if you're doing business with Saudi Arabia, and if you're killing civilians in Yemen to basically carry out Saudi Arabia's war, well, then you really have no leg to stand on when it comes to human rights. You don't really care about human rights.
Yeah, and I'll say two more things about it. One is in Honduras, we supported a coup that put in a right-wing government that's human rights abuses are far worse. The left-wing government did not have human rights abuses. It was actually standing up for the people of Honduras. The right-wing government has been terrible on human rights abuses, and we're absolutely love it. So spare me your crocodile tears on human rights abuses. We actually care about the human rights abuses in Venezuela, and Maduro has done them. And so that is why we are deeply conflicted about what to do in a very difficult situation. But when Trump tells me he cares about human rights abuses, please. It's such an obvious and brazen lie, which brings me to point number two. Oh, you care about elections that aren't real. You know that your big buddy over there, Kim Jong-un in North Korea, also says that he's the rightful leader of the people of North Korea.
We have good chemistry, Jake. We have good chemistry.
Yeah, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, where's the elections? They're massive human rights abuses, the worst in the world. Sham elections or no elections, and you don't give a damn. One, they're your allies. I mean, why is it? Two, you think you're gonna make a great deal with them and it's gonna help your ego. And three, North Korea doesn't have oil and Saudi Arabia lets us get their oil for free, not free obviously, but cheap, right? But Venezuela wants to actually control their own oil. All of a sudden, oh my God, elections. And you're, buddies with Kim Jong-un, Mohammed bin Bonesaw.
Right.
So please, what a load of horse crap. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.